I was doing that out of fear, you know. I was writing that down just out of fear.
Of what?
Of what was happening to me.
Whether it's balance, eyesight, sinus pressure, nausea, anger, driving ability, memory. When the symptoms were the worst in 2014, what were you experiencing?
In 2014, the worst would be like feeling drunk. Like it felt like I had drank. It felt like I was not able to do the simplest tasks around the house or at home because I was drunk. Buckling a belt, tying a knot in a shoelace was a challenge. Like you couldn't put a sentence together because you couldn't remember a word. If you had a word with like two consonants together, like or even three, like match or something simple, you would struggle. Like sometimes saying those words, your tongue would feel like it was a big balloon in your mouth. Eyesight problems would be if I looked at something very close to me, like your shoe, and then looked at something outside, out in the yard, it would take my eyes a few seconds to focus on that item. And then to come back to your shoe real close to me, it'd take my eyes a second. It's too slow.
Why didn't you tell anyone, not even your now wife?
Yeah, I was scared to death. I was just really frightened. I wasn't ready to let everyone know that was going on. I was hoping that it would go away. This may be wrong and a bad comparison, but I think if you had any kind of illness, you wouldn't be so ready to share that with people. You might need some time to yourself to process it before you were open about it and ready to get into the details of what this all means going forward. The other part of that too is trying to explain this problem to someone who's never had a concussion or never experienced these problems is really frustrating. And trying to tell even my wife that my eyes aren't working and this is what they're doing, it just really builds a ton of frustration inside. It's because you're frustrated having the issues, right? You're frustrated with them happening. You're mad inside about it yourself. And now trying to explain to someone who's not a doctor and not really someone that can do anything about it, even though she's my wife and I love her to death, it just does me no good to share it with anyone who can help me.
What was your reaction when you found out in 2014 that he had been hiding a lot of the symptoms from you?
Part of it was a little bit of anger. I was annoyed with him. Obviously, I want him to share everything, and that's not something you hide. It's really severe and serious, and he should have been treating it versus hiding it. And then I was relieved a little bit because I could tell there was something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. So now we finally had something to work from.
What do you remember from the conversation when he told you for the first time what was going on then?
I remember being a little confused and just asking a lot of questions. He had so many notes that he had saved in his phone. It was easy for him to explain it to me. Mm-hmm. But from that moment, my only thoughts were, okay, how do we fix this and who do we call? Surely there's a plan here. What do we do?
How much of why you were taking notes on your iPhone was to leave a trail in case something really bad actually ended up happening?
I felt compromised, in my head. I felt delicate. And if I was to have another random, rare, high-impact crash that could injure me severely, so severely that I wouldn't be able to communicate properly, I wanted there to be some sort of documentation of what had been happening to me and what I've been going through, whether that, would serve any purpose other than just for people to have some knowledge, I guess.
But that was a conscious decision
Yeah.
you made. You
I
hadn't
was
told
doing
anybody
that,
you wanted.
I was doing that out of fear, you know. I was writing that down just out of fear
Of what?
of what was happening to me. You know, I mean, I'm scared. You know, I was having these simple little crashes that were giving me problems. Why? And why am I not able to deal with these crashes that everyone else around me can deal with, and I used to be able to deal with? And so let me write this down, and that way it was there on paper, and I could say, all right, it's Thursday, I'm getting ready to fly to the racetrack. Sunday, I can see was real bad. Monday, Tuesday, getting better, clear Thursday, feeling pretty awesome on Friday. You know, that was just a way for me to draw a timeline of my improvement or progression through each incident. And that way, if it was helpful to my doctor at some point, any point, if he ever needed this information, because I wasn't gonna be able to remember it precisely.
It's kind of crazy that, I mean, he is so very self-reflective, but the ability to analyze, especially when you're not feeling well, like all of those things kind of blew me away. It's definitely not something I would do. And then seeing it put together like that was really scary too. This was around the time too when CTE was really popular to be talked about. And so I think that was part of what drove him to write everything down, just in case he forgot, just in case it got somewhere he couldn't control. Obviously we wouldn't have known to look for it. But I think that all of those things just made him want to be really careful and cautious and write it all down.
At the height of the symptoms in 2016, what was the worst?
The balance, you know, to get up out of this chair and turn and go to the door was dreadful. Every time you stood up or got up, you felt like you knew you were going to get dizzy. You knew you were going to have to hang on to something, and you knew it was going to make you sick on your stomach. Driving down the road, riding on the road, if you know there's a road sign, we're driving toward this road sign on the interstate. Me trying to look at the road sign, my eyes just bounced, and so I couldn't keep as we're driving up to this road sign, my eyes are just bouncing all over the place. And if I was to look over at cars coming at us, my eyes couldn't stay still and look at an object and watch the object go by and watch the road sign go by. You know, my eyes are just bouncing all over the place. And so your eyes are tethered together. When you look left, they both go left, right? When you look up, they both go up. But my eyes didn't work together.
And at this point, you can't drive yourself. You can't go to the grocery store by yourself.
Yeah,
you were.
There was no chance in
dependent.
hell I could
Yeah.
drive anywhere or go do anything like that. And I had these symptoms for 4 months till they started to improve.